This is the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, powered by Playfly. Hear from head coaches Corey Barnett and Sophie Anderson every week to get an inside scoop and perspective of Golden Eagle hoops. Now, here's your host, the voice of the Golden Eagles, Connor Clark.
Welcome into Waldo's Chicken on Yale and 71st here in South Tulsa as we get rolling for a brand new year of the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, episode number 8 coming at you, and the first one of the new year. Connor Clark here with you on the ORU Sports Network, and a big thanks to Waldo's for having us out per usual as we get rocking and rolling. We'll be joined by the head women's basketball coach, Sophie Anderson, here in just a couple of minutes, but we'll keep you entertained until then. But big thanks for all you making us part of your Monday late morning, and come on out, join us. We're here until noon at Waldo's, once again, 71st and Yale in South Tulsa. So a lot to talk about with both head coaches here in the next hour as Summit League conference play has officially started, and both teams playing the North Dakota schools, one on the road and one at home. The women, of course, being the one at home, and we'll break down both of those games with head coach Sophie Anderson here in just a few minutes. But they come out of the two-game stretch to open up conference play 1-1, a win over North Dakota, dominant one at that on Saturday, and then a pretty close loss against North Dakota State to open up conference play on New Year's Day, and against the best team right now in the Summit League in North Dakota State. So we'll get you caught up on everything that happened across both of those contests, and we'll get you caught up on what's going on across the Summit League right now in the standings through two games, what they look like on the women's side. And tied at 2-0 right now, it's North Dakota State and South Dakota State, and ORU will see South Dakota State here in the next week. So the tasks just keep getting taller here to begin Summit League conference play, but it's also a good thing to get those harder conference games kind of under your belt first. Of course, you're going to see each team twice, but kind of gives you a perspective of what you're going to see and what to expect later down the stretch. So both of the Dakota State schools at 2-0, North Dakota State at 13-2, South Dakota State at 12-4 overall. South Dakota off to a 1-0 start. The Coyotes at 11-4 overall, and then it's a three-way tie at 1-1. ORU, Denver, and Kansas City all 1-1. Oral Roberts 8-7 overall, Denver 7-8 overall, and then Kansas City 4-11 overall. And we have three winless teams to start off conference play. St. Thomas 0-1, they are 7-8 to start the year, and then North Dakota and Omaha both 0-2. North Dakota at 3-12, and Omaha at 2-15 overall. So that is a look at the Summit League basketball standings on the women's side of things. Oral Roberts, one game above 500 at 8-7, and they hit the road for their first conference road trip of the season, starting January 8th at South Dakota and then at South Dakota State. So it's going to be a really tough road trip, but one that will, A, tell us a lot about this team moving forward, and B, giving this team a lot of experience down the stretch, especially in Summit League play, because then they'll come back for two games against Kansas City and Omaha here at home. So a big two-game stretch, a big weekend coming up for head coach Sophie Anderson and her crew on January 8th and January 10th. Now, let's get you caught up on those final scores. North Dakota State, they did end up losing that one 76-68, but one that was closely contested throughout. And again, North Dakota State off to a fantastic start to the 2025-26 year. And then North Dakota, a 95-67 win on Saturday, January 3rd. And just an absolute dominating performance from the Golden Eagles throughout, and a really, really impressive win for this group. And excited to talk with Coach about that one here in just a few minutes, and how they can use that as a springboard into this pretty tough road trip coming up with the Dakota schools in South Dakota, I should say, in just a couple of days. But a big thanks for all of you making us part of your Monday afternoon or Monday morning. It feels like the afternoon, but it'll be afternoon by the time we're done here. We're here until noon once again, so come check us out. Waldo's at 71st and Yale here in South Tulsa. We'll have Coach Sophie Anderson coming up here just a few minutes, and then Coach Corey Barnett joining us at around 11:30 until noon to close us out here on episode number 8 of the ORU Basketball Coaches Show. So let's take a look at this North Dakota State box score from January 1st, and of course we'll break it down further with head coach Anderson. And Jaylee Oglesby got back to doing Jaylee Oglesby things. She's been doing that over the last few games. She had 20 points and 7 rebounds to lead all Golden Eagles. She was 10 of 16 from the field, so an incredibly efficient day on top of leading the team in scoring. Anna Trusty pitched in 14. Keaton Donnelly with 12, and then Gentry Baldwin with 10, 4 Golden Eagles in double figures. And then after that, it was just Holton and Azila Funches getting in the scoring column with 6, or I beg your pardon, Jackson Taylor or Taylor Jackson, and Azila Funches getting in the scoring column with 6 points apiece there. Everybody else was held scoreless off of the bench. ORU shoots it at a 43% rate for the game. Only took 8 threes, made 2 of them, 25% there, and a very uncharacteristic day from the free throw line. Just 8 of 16, 50% in the loss. And just more team stats as well. They had 7 second chance points. They had 40 points in the paint, which is a really, really impressive number, especially against a team with NDSU that brings so much size. 20 points in transition, 14 points off of turnovers, and 12 bench points, as we mentioned just a few moments ago. On the other side for South Dakota State, it was Abby Zorinsky leading the team with 17 points, as well as Carrington Asp, who also had 17 points. She pitched in 9 rebounds as well off the bench in 29 minutes. North Dakota State shoots 42.6% from the field, 31.8% from 3, 7 of 22, and 23 of 29 from the charity stripe. So impressive numbers there. They had 32 points in the paint, 17 fast break points, 11 points off of turnovers, and 17 bench points as well in that contest on New Year's Day. So a really good one. And we'll break it down further as the head coach of the ORU women's basketball program, Sophie Anderson, is joining us now here at Waldo's on the ORU Sports Network. And, Coach, I know it was a mad dash to get over here, but I appreciate the time as always. No worries at all. And glad to have you on the show once again. And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I guess we haven't talked
since.
It's
been crazy.
Yeah, I guess we haven't talked since the turn of the new year. And
yeah,
you guys start off conference play and a pretty difficult schedule to begin conference plays. I'm sure you're well aware of after the first
PTSD
2 games
from November, huh?
All right. The first 2 games at home, and then of course the next 2 coming up, which we'll talk about. But we were just going through the North Dakota State box score from New Year's Day, and a game that was really tightly contested throughout. And I know you guys had to battle back from a little bit of a hole in that third quarter, but you come back and you make it a game down the stretch. They just made a couple more plays.
Right. I think our third quarter is what really, really hurt us. I think we fell asleep just a little bit in the third quarter. And I don't think, with us being a little bit young and haven't played in the conference, majority of our team, I don't think they realized the gold that we had in our pocket with Coonan being out for 12 minutes in the first half. And I just don't think we took advantage of that huge opportunity. She was in foul trouble. She only played 8 minutes, and that was very important for us to go into halftime with the lead. And we went in down 5 at half, which is still against a really, really good ball club. Like, hey, you're right where you want to be. So our conversation going into the second half, you have to take the lead. You have to close the gap, take the lead going into the media of the third. And at the media of the third, we're down 15. We're heading in the wrong direction against a very, 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 very good team. So I think it was just a learning curve and probably exactly what we needed to grow from and to learn. And I don't think we still woke up almost until the fourth, to be honest with you. And we look up, Connor, and Gentry goes in for a layup. First, we get a steal, and then we didn't convert. And then Gentry goes in for a layup, misses, and then here comes Zai for a putback, and we missed that. And that could have cut it to a 2-point game with 1 minute to go. So, I mean, just taking advantage. And once again, here we go. We just haven't been there before. We don't know. We know who North Dakota State is, but we don't know. And
first time looking across the court.
Exactly.
Right there.
Exactly. So I think now it's almost that Tulsa type feeling where we're like, man, we were right there. Oh, we were really right there. And man, that was a really good team. And we were right there. And so I think just putting it all together, and I think that just gave us momentum for Saturday's game. So learning experience, unfortunately.
Now, I mean, it's kind of the same preface here on the men's side. It's the middle 8. For you guys, it's more so like the middle 10, just because of the media timeouts. And of course, you guys learned the lesson of how important that middle 10 is. And going forward into these conference games, and of course you have two of the better teams on your schedule coming up on the road, especially away from home. I mean, how important is that to? I know everybody says you got to come out of the gate firing, you got to come out of halftime firing, but especially closing the gate of that first half too is also extremely important. So, what do you think your team learned about that middle 10 minutes, and how can you apply that going forward?
Yeah, you can't fall asleep. Like we've talked about it, and every program says it. Every possession matters. But for us, the start has been really, really a big deal for us. We've kind of struggled with that, and we've kind of just taken hold of the first 2 minutes, and then we'll chip away, and then we talk about the first 5 minutes at a time. But those first 2 minutes are extremely important of every quarter, and then the last 2 minutes are extremely important of every quarter. But I think they are starting to understand the value of possessions, the value of time, and how if you don't take advantage of it, it'll run out on you, and it's too little too late. And we just don't want to have any regrets. So um, it's going to be important on the road even more so. We're playing against two really, really good teams, and two different style of teams too on Thursday. Just extremely athletic. They play hard. Kind of evenly matched for us, dribble drive ish, ball screens. They just play hard. They rebound. They can get to the rim. They can shoot the three. Just a great ball club. And then you sleep one night, and then the next day you're dealing with 10 machines that don't make mistakes. So the middle 10, as you call it, that's important. It is extremely important. And if you don't come out firing, which I think we kind of grew on Saturday, we had 37 points in the third, and that's huge for us. I don't think we've had that all year, and we haven't had a consistent 4 quarters for us. And I think we finally had that, and they know how it feels now. So, and I know they're capable of it. So now I get to hold them to it. I know they probably hate that.
Well, looking at the rebounding battle in this game too, how big do you think that was when you go back and look at? I know it's different on paper than versus actually seeing it, but there was a minus 12 differential in that. And I know North Dakota State brings a lot of size. How do you think that affected the game overall, and of course the result?
Obviously rebounds are important, especially if they're offensive rebounds and those putbacks and things like that. So yeah, I think it affected the game quite a bit, and it's momentum crushing as well when you work hard to defend and then they get an offensive rebound for an easy putback. You're just like, we worked hard for 27 seconds, and then that's our reward. So yeah,
Right.
Rebounds are huge, and then when you can stop, and it turned out it swung the other way for us in the fourth. We were able to get some stops, get some tips and steals, and get some rebounds and push it the other way. So it's momentum swinging on both sides, but rebounds are huge, and I think it's going to be a big emphasis going into this next week as well, because the guards rebound, the post rebound, everybody's rebounding on both days. So that's just the name of the game, rebounding in basketball, period. So
let's flip the page over to you guys' really dominant win on Saturday, 95-67, the final score there. You guys score at least 20 in all 4 of the quarters. You shoot it around 50% as a team as well. And a game in which, we saw that entire rotation, impact the game in a positive way, especially on offense. You have 4 in double figures, and then you just have a handful of points from pretty much everybody that you threw in the game. How important was that for you guys? And what kind of confidence do you think that built, not only for the starting rotation, because we all know what they can do, but your guys' bench players played really, really well down the stretch in that game as well.
Right. Our starters are going to have to be huge. We're going to have a great start to give ourselves an opportunity to win a ball game. And but our bench is just as important. They have to come in and be able to help us. And like you said, it's a huge confidence builder for our program for this next week. And knowing what they're capable of. I've been telling them how good they can be, but you just don't realize it until the ball goes in the hole,
right.
Or you get a steal, or you can really get up and guard and stay in front of the basketball. So I think this last game that we played was about us. It was about us doing the right things. It was about us. We went into half. I think we were up 9 or something like that. And I was like, I'm not congratulating you because you're up 9. Like,
Right.
that's not, that's nothing. Like, you are better than that. And I have to demand you to be better than that. And so I'm not patting you on your back for you having a lead. And I think they responded. And I think they got a taste of how good they can be. But the question is, with a younger team, can you do it again?
Mhm.
And that takes maturity, and that is why South Dakota State and North Dakota State are so good, because they're able to do it night in and night out. And it's hard. That's hard to defend, and that's hard to do, to have your mind ready to go and ready to play every game. So I think it was huge for us. We need it going into this next week, and I think they played hard. Everyone played hard, and everyone scoring. Hey, you got a smile on your face. You get a win, and that's what you need going into
Right.
this brutal week that we're about to hit.
Well, I know Jaylee's been really good over the last 3, and of course the first 2 to start conference play. A really impactful, only 16 minutes, but she scores 15 points. She puts in three rebounds, 2 assists, and it's interesting to me because I know we've talked about Anna Trusty kind of taking over, not necessarily taking over, but morphing into a leading scorer type
Right.
caliber player.
Uh-huh.
And then we get in the conference play where it's like, well, okay, all these teams and coaches, for the most part, have seen Jaylee. They know what she's going to do, and she still makes it work.
Yeah.
So what have you seen from her? And, of course, her experience comes in big time there. But
Right.
it's just like number 11 is inevitable at some point for you guys.
Right. And I mean, Jaylee's just a winner. She gets hurt on Saturday. So she gets elbowed in the eye, so she was out the whole first half, majority of it. So, and I don't know if she could see going into the third quarter. And I was like, Jay, are you okay? And she said, muscle memory, right, coach?
That's
Muscle
fine.
memory. Yeah, I can't see, but I know where the
I
goal
know where the
is.
hoop is, yeah.
And some of the girls were like, if you see 3, shoot at the one in the middle,
Shoot in the middle,
So, but she's been great, and everyone knows what Jaylee's going to do. She's been a consistent since she's been in this conference, but um, I mean, how can you stop her? She just finds a way to get to her spot. She finds a way to get the ball off, and she just does a great job at that. And I think our team is starting to develop and kind of, like you said, morph into their own as well. And it's just about being consistent. And I think Anna Trusty has been just that on both ends of the floor. Rebound, same thing with Jaylee, getting rebounds and consistently scoring for us. And then you look up, it could be 1 or 2 other people doing that. And it's just been different every night. I wish I could say it's the same 4, but hey, at least somebody is showing up. You could just have 2 and then no one else shows up. So excited for them. But yeah, Jaylee Oglesby, she just finds a way. She'll get it done. She's just a winner.
Now, I know I wasn't able to watch the game because our game started an hour after yours,
for
and
sure.
a whole bunch of stuff was going on. But just from looking at the box score, I feel like you give an extra assist to Gentry and Anna for opening it up for her to score too. Jaylee, that is, because when Trusty puts in 20 and Gentry puts in 17, I mean, it's going to open up other opportunities for Jaylee to kind of get hers. And what have you seen from that group of like, okay, well, Anna's got it going this night. What do you see kind of off the ball away from her? Like, all right, adjustment wise, they're going to be keying in on her. How can we get X, Y, and Z open on this weak side?
Well, yeah, and I think with a dribble drive, it's that's the beauty and the curse of the offense. Like you really can't say who's taking the shot. It's a kind of a read and react offense, and some coaches that drives them crazy because you don't know who's going to take the shot. And then on the other side, that's the beauty of it, because it drives the defense crazy too. So you could key in on Jaylee, but as soon as you do that, we make a pass and somebody else has the opportunity to score. So I think Jaylee's starting to really understand the league as well, meaning she's going to draw, or I may not be able to get to the rim this game. I may have to use my pull up a little bit more, or if we can get a switch or some type of advantage. But that weak side action has been huge for us coming downhill and maybe even coming towards Jaylee a few times, because now with Anna coming downhill, are you going to stop her or are you going to stay out on Jaylee, which could open it up? And, so I mean, I think it's just the offense working, and that's the beauty of it. And I think everyone is just starting to get settled in and be a little bit more confident within the offense, their game within the offense. So I think that's cool too, and that's what basketball is about. You're just climbing that mountain and getting better each and every day, and kind of settling in. So excited to see this week how it all plays out.
Oh, we'll get to this week in just a second, but I know the modern day college basketball and really just basketball in general is three ball, three ball, three ball. You don't want mid ranges. You either want a layup or you want a three. You got to score 95 points. You only shoot 11 threes. You only make 6 of them. I know you guys did a really good job of getting to the free throw line, but what do you notice about this offense just getting downhill and being able to attack the paint? And you guys had 40 points in the paint against NDSU. So you guys are clearly getting into that painted area when you want to and having success.
Well, and I think the press against North Dakota also kind of opened up, the 2 ball just a little bit more. We were able to get some steals, and we kind of forced the issue downhill. But yeah, our since July, that's been our mindset. Foot in the paint touch, whether that's off the bounce or off the pass, and then also playing that inside out game. Just making sure that the ball is moving and it's not getting stuck on one side of the floor. And to be honest, you got to be able to shoot the ball when you are running dribble drive. And it's not so much about the quantity of threes, making sure we're taking good quality threes and knocking them down. Like our big emphasis has been like rhythm threes, not forcing a three, not just jacking up a three. It has to be a rhythm three so that we can knock it down. So yeah, we only shoot 11, but we make 6 of them. Now, that's a great percentage, and I'd rather have that than we shoot, 19 and only make 6, So are we passing up opportunities where we could have gotten to the paint or to the free throw line? Or are we taking a good shot? And we've really been harping on we need a great shot. And that great shot is an inside out, creating a long closeout, paint touch with the bounce or off the pass. So I think they're starting to get it, and they're being efficient in it, and that's what we need to be. It doesn't, and I mean, the quality has to be there. They have to take great shots, and I mean, each possession matters. And with this conference being so new, like you just can't take a possession for granted. You got to be smart.
You guys scored 46 in the paint against UND, so 86 points in the paint through 2 conference games. I'd say that's probably pretty good. So
Thanks, Connor.
I would be happy with that statistic. I know, you needed me to tell you that.
Yeah, that's it. It's
sure.
Official now.
But moving forward, and I know the road trip is a road trip that features the 2 really good teams.
Yeah,
and it
really
starts with South Dakota on Thursday. And just from an overall perspective, when you first start diving into this team, and you mentioned South Dakota and South Dakota State play 2 very different styles. So what do you expect to see and just kind of the contrast between the 2? And it's kind of a loaded question, but how do you go about preparing for that?
Well, I think we'll go Thursday. It'll be a lot like us, so we'll be playing kind of a mirror image of ourselves, as meaning they want to get downhill, they want to shoot the 3-ball, but there are some screens involved. So having to be able to cover that and then the roll. But then let's fast forward to Saturday. They're running. Thursday will be a motion offense as well, but more freedom, more downhill, more off the bounce, where you have South Dakota State where they're running a motion, but they're trying to get that ball inside. They're trying to pound it on the inside where the ball's going to stay outside, kind of free throw line and out. Again, on Thursday, where it's going to be block and out on Saturday, So definitely paint touches, but paint touches in a different way, downhill in a different way. A lot of movement on the backside from a South Dakota State, and a lot of movement on Thursday as a whole, where it's more of a motion, but rebounding will be the same. They're going to be monsters on the paint. They're going to be 3-point shots going up. So I think that's the good side of it. We can prepare for both teams, which is great. We don't have to have 2 totally different, game plans. A lot of it kind of morphs over and kind of bleeds into the other. But staying in front of the basketball and being active, and you got to be aware, and guarding a man and a half will be huge for us on both games. So
you guys take on a interconference transfer in Angelina Robles of South Dakota, spent 3 years at Denver, and a player who was I remember seeing her last year when she came to the Maybe, and she was really, really impressive. She's currently leading the team in scoring with around 14 a game, and just a very aggressive guard.
That's a great word.
And very,
active.
Is able to attack off the bounce. Active, I think, is a great way to describe her too. So defensively, I mean, how do you go about limiting her? And of course, I mean, it's hard to stop any leading scorer in any league. And
right.
what are some of the weaknesses that you guys can maybe exploit on her on Thursday?
I mean, we really got to stay in front of the basketball and contest every shot. I would like to see once she gets on a roll and she knocks down a few, her energy level, and she's an energy bug anyway, her energy level goes up like any other basketball player. You knock down a few, you're rolling. But I'm telling you, they're very high energy and they hit a few threes, and that changes the game for them. So if we can limit her 3-point attempts and even makes, that's going to give us an opportunity and a chance to kind of stop the bleeding. But when they knock down shots, that fires them up, especially from the 3-point line. So I think our deal is we're going to have to know where she is all the time in transition. She's a nightmare. She's quick. She's fast. She's able to get a three off behind the screen, doing things most girls can't do. Most girls are, they're set. The ball comes in and out, and they have to be in rhythm and things like that. Where she can come off of a screen and she can knock down the three, or she can get to the rim. She's just deadly. Three level scorer for sure, and but she's very an emotional player, very, very much an energy player. So if we can just not limit her touches, because she's going to touch the basketball, but we have to limit her attempts and limit her makes, and we have to be in front of her, and every shot has to be contested, and we have to block her out because she's flying to the boards to get a rebound as well, which you don't see in a lot of point guards.
Yeah, I mean, she can step out and shoot it, as you mentioned, off the bounce. She can rebound it. She's just kind of
she does it all.
I think you put it perfectly. She's a kind of a jolt of energy all
absolutely,
the time.
Absolutely. And the heart of their team. Like they are feeding off of her. So I would like to see if we can contest, we can limit her attempts. How will that bleed into? And energy, it's never destroyed. So whether it's good or bad, it's going to bleed. So if we can limit her positive energy, meaning contest her shots, not give her just wide open threes, and what will that do for the team? So we got to give ourselves a chance, because if she gets rolling, we could be in trouble.
Now, last thing for you about this upcoming road trip in South Dakota, they do a nice job of taking care of the basketball. Only 12 turnovers a game. They have a margin of nearly +4 in that category. A season in which you guys have been able to force a ton of turnovers defensively. And I don't want to say it's chaotic, but sometimes it feels that way defensively. So how do you go about bumping that number up? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the numbers tell the story somewhat, but we've seen you guys go out there and, cause turnover after turnover after turnover. And, of course, your team is able to get out and transition pretty well.
Yeah. Connor, to be honest, our mindset is like it's going to be a grind. Like we're not going in to try to be chaotic. We do want to disrupt. That's what our mindset is. We're disrupting. We want to disrupt your timing. We want to disrupt what you want to do. So I hope they feel like it is chaotic, but we know exactly what we're doing, and that's disruption, especially when you are going against teams that are very methodical and doing point A, point B to point C. So disruption is huge, but we just have to be solid and be prepared for the grind. Both teams are not going to just let us come in there and just blow them out. That's absolutely not is what's going to happen. So we're going to have to be able to sit down and be able to guard and take advantage of an opportunity to get a tip or a steal. And if we can get transition, that is where most teams are their best, especially for us. So they do take care of the basketball. So we're going to have to be active, and we're going to have to be alert and moving the whole time. But it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a grind, and blocking out will be huge, and just being active. I hope that it is chaotic for our sake so that we can get some run outs and we can get some easy buckets. But just being prepared to go on the road mentally, and with this younger group that just never been to South Dakota before. So just preparing them for this week. It's going to be about us and making sure that we're doing the right things for 40 minutes and then doing it again 2 days later for another 40 minutes.
And another note, too. I mean, well, one of your players has been to South Dakota.
Well, 4 of them have, but.
Well, one played there for a year. Anna Coons making a
pseudo
homecoming.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of.
Totally different team, though.
Yes, totally different team.
Totally different team.
Strictly geography speaking.
Yeah, fair.
They have technically been there. Some of them, but not all.
She lived there. She's definitely been there.
She did live there for a year.
Yeah.
Last thing for you, besides continuing to win basketball games, any New Year's resolutions for you? And if you don't have any, I don't blame you because I don't know if I have any.
For me, it's just being disciplined every morning, just to get in the Word and just to study a little bit more, diving deep. Everyone's like, I want to read a chapter a day. Like, I really want to dive deep and just push myself. And we talked to our team about discipline and taking ownership. And I think that's what I've been trying to do here lately. And it's hard to get up every morning. And I'm telling you, I'm just being honest. It's hard to get up and just get in the Word. And I've really been trying. So please keep asking me how it's going. Cause
No, every show.
Yeah, please. But that's just been it. Just trying to dive into the Word and just kind of take ownership of my mind before the day starts. Cause there's so many things that are clouding it, being a wife, a mom, and then obviously loving on these young ladies and making sure that we're getting everybody prepared for the next opponent. So yeah, just taking care of me, and I think with that has been my resolution.
I think that's a pretty good answer.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as always, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate the
it.
time, and
Sorry,
good
Connor,
luck
I
this
was
weekend.
late.
No worries, no worries at all. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
It'll be fun to keep an eye on a couple of those games. So that's head coach Sophie Anderson. We'll be joined by head coach Corey Barnett here in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. The ORU Basketball Coaches Show continues after this. We're here at Waldo's Chicken on 71st and Yale on the ORU Sports Network.
Life comes at you fast, whether it's starting a family, making the most out of your side hustle, or anything else financial. Sometimes you just need to talk to someone. That's what we do. We're TTCU Federal Credit Union, and we're here to get you where you want to go. Our money experts can help build your credit, figure out your budgets, and even help plan your savings goals. Together, we've got this. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
At Bill Knight Ford, we're proud to bring you the power of 4 with Bill Knight Ford of Tulsa, Stillwater, Bartlesville, and now our all-new location in Veneta. You have access to a wider selection of vehicles, more service options, and a dedicated team.
Get the 2025 F-150 Super Crew for just $48,990 or the 2025 Explorer for just $43,660, both with 3.9% financing.
Visit any of our 4 locations to experience the power of 4 for yourself or shop BillKnightAuto.com today.
WAC from Ford Credit.
Basketball season is here, so let racers make sure you're on the ball for entertaining. Make it easy with our ready-to-grill items, like our jalapeno poppers and kebabs. We have fan favorites, like our sandwich trays from the deli, or team-themed cakes and cupcakes in the bakery. Racers, the official grocery store of the ORU Golden Eagles.
At Grubbs Acura of Tulsa, we don't just sell cars, we stand behind them. That's why we offer a lifetime warranty on every new Acura and select pre-owned vehicles. Drive with confidence, knowing your investment is protected for the long haul. Stop by Grubbs Acura of Tulsa today. Luxury you can trust, backed for life.
At Bill Knight Ford, we're proud to bring you the power of 4 with Bill Knight Ford of Tulsa, Stillwater, Bartlesville, and now our all-new location in Veneta. You have access to a wider selection of vehicles, more service options, and a dedicated team.
Get the 2025 F-150 Super Crew for just $48,990 or the 2025 Explorer for just $43,660, both with 3.9% financing.
Visit any of our 4 locations to experience the power of 4 for yourself or shop BillKnightAuto.com today.
WAC.
This is the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, powered by Playfly. Hear from head coaches Corey Barnett and Sophie Anderson every week to get an inside scoop and perspective of Golden Eagle hoops. Now, here's your host, the voice of the Golden Eagles, Connor Clark.
Welcome back into Waldo's Chicken on 71st and Yale. ORU Basketball Coaches Show continues here in South Tulsa. Connor Clark now joined by the head men's basketball coach Corey Barnett here in segment number 2. We're here until noon, so come check us out and go grab yourself some lunch as well on a beautiful Monday morning here in Tulsa. We'll lead it off with this, Coach. I asked Isaac Green.
The Iceman.
The Iceman. The day we got to North Dakota, what the coldest place in the Big Ten he traveled to while he was there? What's the coldest place in the Big 12 that you would have traveled to last season?
That's a good question.
Because I know there's
Iowa State is the coldest, but
Okay.
we didn't play there last year.
Oh, okay.
So Morgantown was maybe up there.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably podium at least.
Where I was, yeah. We got a lot of snow, and the hills there are not built for it there. It's very hilly.
If
it's ice, you're good
you're
luck.
trapped.
Yeah, you're
trapped.
We'll see you later.
Yeah, that was a fun little 4-day forecast in North Dakota. I'm glad we're back down here.
The coffee spot we went to is called 20 Below.
Right.
And if it's 20 below, they give you free coffee. And we were 9 degrees off of that. So,
well, it happened last year when Tony Rossi went to that same coffee spot and he got a free coffee.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. So I'm like, maybe it's really not that bad. Put it in perspective. It was a lot worse last year. But anyway, it's in the rearview mirror. So that's probably good for everybody. But we'll get talking about the two games over the weekend to kick off conference play, North Dakota and North Dakota State. And of course, I know you guys wanted to come out on the other end of both of them, and we'll spend more time on the NDSU game because, I mean, just from a fan perspective, a fantastic college basketball game to be a part of, double overtime, and one that I know that you guys felt like you could have won / should have won, a 79-77 final. And I think the biggest storyline that I take out of the road trip is just the step forward that Yuta Yamanuchi Williams took over the two games. He had 20 points against UND, he had 19 points and some pretty massive buckets down the stretch against the Bison as well. And a guy that's going to be really important for you guys going down the stretch in conference play. And he really stepped up in a big way in both games.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying all season to Yuto, a lot of it is his belief. I mean, he's got to fully lean into who he is and play with a different level of intensity and a dominant mindset. And I thought this was the first trip where he really started cracking into that consistently. And when teams put two on the ball, like both North Dakota and North Dakota State do, it helps him because now he can create advantages and use his skill set. And but I thought even more than that, he made a lot of the toughness plays that we've been pushing him to make consistently throughout this whole trip. So I was proud of the progression from him. And he was obviously a very big key, and losing him to fouling out in that regulation was something that was tough to overcome. But I thought our guys continued to fight throughout in a real way. So,
yeah, I mean the obstacles just felt like they kept mounting down the stretch because not only does he foul out, Ofri fouls out, Ty leaves with about 10 minutes left in regulation, so he misses about 20 minutes of game time with an injury as well. So you're talking about three of your best scorers on the entire team not being available, but you were able to lean on guys like Cal, guys like Martins, who played really, really significant minutes down the stretch as true freshmen. I know we talked about it briefly after the game, but it was impressive to see. I mean, Cal Furnish played 37 minutes.
Right.
And I don't think maybe at the beginning of the year we thought that would happen in a game, but
no doubt.
Here we are, and he's running the offense in crunch time, and I thought he handled himself pretty well overall.
There's no doubt. No, I mean, like, obviously you go into a season and you lose Sparky, and then you go into games like that and you don't have Ty, you don't have Ofri. Like, Cal had to take not only a major role playing the minutes, but a gravity role. Like, he had to play with force and get attempts and get guys open shots. And he's always been very heady and steady. And a lot of my conversations with him recently has been about how aggressive I want him being. I think he needs to continue to push himself to that next level of playing with a different level of force in terms of his aggressiveness. And I thought overall both games he showed flashes of that. And I mean, it's invaluable experience, especially for those two. Luke, who's a sophomore. We had a lot of youth that got a lot of really good experience throughout. And so I was proud of the fight that they showed, and unfortunately didn't come out on top. And that's something that we have to go through. We have three different games that have come down to the last possession of the game, and we have to figure out a way to edge those out. And unfortunately, Montana State was the only one out of the four that had been close at the end that we found a way to win. So.
Cal also led your team in rebounding with 7. Which,
pretty insane.
Another thing I don't think I would be saying at the beginning of the year. But
I don't know if that's a positive. We got to figure that out. But yes,
for him individually,
great positive.
Great. It was good
for
to
others,
see him scratch the board.
For others, go grab that basketball.
Yeah, and I know that was a talking point with the team after the game about just the overall boards and the way that NDSU is pretty relentless, especially offensively on the glass. But I felt like in the overtime periods, it really evened out, and you guys got a handful of second opportunities. That was a big reason why it went to a second overtime. And
no doubt.
I at least from my perspective, I really liked how the aggressiveness kind of went up a notch even when guys are tired.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating that that's not who we are, because it's something that we drill a lot every single day, and we obviously as a staff need to find new ways to drill that to where their attention to detail is at a high point to where we crash consistently. And North Dakota State's the most disciplined rebounding team we've played. Not only are they aggressive and physical, but we talk about the movement of the shots. Like, there's on every single shot, there should be movement on every single individual in the court. And you watch it, and theirs is very, very disciplined. And Coach has obviously been there a long time, and he's built a great program and has his foundation really, really built. And that's something that we need to get to very quickly, because it doesn't get easier. St. Thomas is very, very good. And then we go back on the road, and so we got a tough a tough conference start from the schedule standpoint. So it's something that we got to be able to mature through quickly. And thankfully in this league, the week to be able to prepare for a Saturday game is awesome. Even the week to be able to prepare for a Thursday, Saturday game, I think it helps you get a lot of growth during the season, which our guys need to be able to lean into that in a real way.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that here in just a second. I did want to ask about the 3-point shooting, because I know it was literally a tale of two halves, and I know we hesitate to say that, but 9 threes go down in the first half, and then you guys make 3 across the second half and the 2 overtimes. And I don't necessarily think they were bad looks. They just weren't falling. Was it just one of those games where it was like, hey, we're hitting everything in the first half and it's just going to go a different way? Is it something that NDSU did defensively, or what can you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of things. One, we have to be as a team, we need to do better in fatigue, whether that be on the glass or whether that be the type of shots that we're getting. We have to be able to fight through fatigue at a better level, and that's a toughness thing that we need to be able to lean into in a real way and practice it and push them to fatigue and get them to get to that spot. So that's something that we're going to be focusing on the staff. But then two, I thought in the second half, Ty going out, the gravity that he creates to be able to drive and kick to others, we just didn't have enough on that court. And there were times where I thought we settled probably 5 or 6 times where we could have worked a lot harder for a great shot. And again, that comes from almost every single time your fatigue level. You don't want to work hard enough for that really good shot. And you see a little bit of an edge and you take one thinking that's going to be open and it's not. So whether it be decision-making, whether it be just being able to lean into how hard it is to be elite for 40 minutes, that's something that we need to be able to grow in quickly.
So you mentioned the tough start to the conference schedule. How beneficial is that for a new group like yours who has never really seen the Summit League outside of Chase and Luke, of course? And of course, Chase was a redshirt last year, so he never played. But, how important is that? Because kind of the same thing, you and Sophie's crew have a really difficult start to conference play. But it gives you a perspective and kind of a early lesson of like, all right, this is what it's going to look like. Right. Now we're prepared going forward.
No doubt. No, I mean, it shocks the system early is what you want. We did that with our non-conference and not knowing what our conference would be. So they're getting shocked twice. And so it's something that they need to be able to not allow the record or the results to dictate what the next game looks like. And a mature team does that, and we need to be that team. And that's something that we talk about consistently. And the results are in the past now, and now it's about the process and leaning in. Like I said, this week is massive. We get a really great week to be able to prepare for a very, very good, well-coached St. Thomas team that presents a ton of problems on both ends of the floor. So we need to be able to really dive into the practice reps and lean in and have that attention to detail every single day we get on the court.
You mentioned having a week off to prepare for that St. Thomas team, and I believe they played 3 times between yesterday and your guys' game on this coming Saturday. And time for you guys to kind of get their feet back under them. I know you guys were off yesterday, and then a chance for you guys to get even more looks at St. Thomas. How important is this stretch?
Huge, yeah, because they present a lot of problems. He's recruited a very unique roster in the way that they play with how all 5 positions can shoot it. They had the preseason player of the year who is trending towards being the player of the year in our league with how well he is playing.
Yeah,
so
he's been phenomenal.
Really good. So their last 5 games, they're especially in the offensive end, they're playing at a ridiculous level. So we'll have to be able to work on some different coverages and some different looks to be able to try and keep them as uncomfortable as possible because they're a hard team to guard.
Down the stretch in the NDSU game, and we'll move on to St. Thomas here in just a few moments, but I mean, Connor was pretty much in the game for the entirety of the game. He played 44 minutes. And, of course, I mean, that's not really surprising because he's one of kind of the cornerstones of your program. And you lean on him a lot. And what did you think of the plays he was able to make down the stretch? I know it wasn't the most efficient day for him, but he's still in double figures. He got some big rebounds in that second overtime as well.
Connor consistently plays hard, and that's something that I love about Connor. And he's one of those who's got to hunt great shots consistently, but at the same time, he needs to continue to utilize his gravity in a real way. And I think the part that his game, like I just don't love that he only gets 5 twos. And you think, well, he's a 3-point shooter, but because he's a 3-point shooter, a lot of teams are over closing to him, and he's really good when he gets going downhill. And it's some area that I think he needs to continue to attack more. And as a staff, we need to be really intentional and put him in those positions consistently. So that's a huge key for us.
Well, we've got Coach Anderson peeking through the window at us and messing with us. But you mentioned, teams will overplay Connor a little bit on the 3-point line, as any team will do against any solid 3-point shooter or a good 3-point shooter. And that's kind of where the art of the back cut comes in. And,
no doubt.
And how are you able to not necessarily teach him that, because I know he knows how to do that, obviously. Yeah. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. And how do you kind of have him recognize the moments to do that more throughout the course of a ball game?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that, but like he obviously every night, especially with Ty out, he's getting the best individual defender. It's either him or Ty, and they for a lot of this game they put one on him who's a very good individual defender. I was not only impressed with their overall team defense. Sometimes you can go up against teams and be impressed by their defense, but they have great individual defenders across the board and guys who really take a lot of ownership on that side of the ball. And I thought Connor stepped up to that challenge and he attacked it with the force. And he needs to continue to find spots to where he can create edges and advantages. And it's massive for our team. I think he can even continue to grow and how much he creates for others and how much he attacks the paint. And because he's a great passer, he's got great feel. And we don't want him just settling for threes, even though that's one of the best things he does, because he has so many other aspects to his game that we need to continue to force teams to really have to guard at a high level.
Well, I personally am looking forward to the next rematch against North Dakota State, because since I've been here, all 3 games against them have been absolutely phenomenal to watch. So good. I am looking forward to that. But we'll move on to St. Thomas. I understand that, but hey, you get them at home next time, so that's that's
doesn't change the blood pressure. But
that's also true. But we get St. Thomas at home this Saturday, and you mentioned a really, really good team, a team that was right there to win the Summit last year, is right there again this year, and were the preseason favorites. And they get a nice win over Denver, who I think has been a little bit of a surprise this season.
No doubt.
Kind of the whole reconstruction of their program, but that's for another day. But they win 92-88 yesterday over Denver at home. And you mentioned Nolan Minnesali, who's the preseason player of the year, looks every bit of the player of the year. They got Nick Janowski, who played really well yesterday. They've got Tyler Hero's little brother, which is kind of a big name for them as well. But when you break down the weapons, not to mention Carter Bierke, who's kind of the most –
definitely mention him.
Yeah. Who's probably the most dangerous weapon do you think that they have that you got to key in on?
I mean, Nolan is the easiest low-hanging fruit. I think he's incredibly hard to guard, and he puts you in situations where he's getting into what we call like a Barkley back down, to where he's forcing it. He's an elite finisher on the rim. They, as a team, are one of the top 2 teams in the country at 2-point field goal percentage, and he's going to put you in those positions a lot with his back downs and how he is to finish. And if you double, they got 3-point shooters all around him. And but I will say Carter it poses a lot of different problems for a lot of different teams, and he's a pick and pop 5 that doesn't just they're picking pop 5s in North Dakotas, but they were true 5s who were setting the screen and popping. This dude's coming off staggers and slipping out, and like he's putting you in positions to where your 5s aren't used to guarding that. So it's not what they guard every day. So it puts you in a lot of really hard positions to be able to make. And you can game plan as much as you want, but it's during the speed of the game. You're guarding that type of guy. You got to make quick, high-level decisions with a lot of elite communication, and that's still an area where we've taken steps, but we need to take giant leaps in the way that we communicate at a high level, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, last year, Carter Bierke, I believe it was like 70% of his total field goal attempts were from 3. This year, 82 of 112 field goal attempts are also from 3. So he's just such a unique guard, because, for them, that just spreads out the defense and
changes
kind of
everything.
Opens up the paint, too. And when you look at that from a defensive perspective, I know it's a hard thing to attack, but where does your mind go in order to attack that? Because we see teams, that's kind of becoming popular around college basketball. You kind of have that spread 5, and everything just opens up, and that either A, gets your 3-point shooters open, or B, back cuts are wide open as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And they there's a lot of different teams that have done different things against them coverage wise. So we're still studying what that looks like for us. It's hard. You can watch a team and be like, man, they guard them really well, and I love the way they guard them. Well, that's great, but if it doesn't fit who your personnel is and how you want to guard and how you've worked to guard the entire offseason, you got to figure out a different adjustment for you. So we're going to look at a lot of different coverages in this week in practice and see what works best, and we may give them multiple coverages depending on how well each thing works, and different guys maybe in different coverages. Obviously, Udo and Barron and Luke are way different than even Chase is, and all three of those individuals are different than each other. So they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we need to be able to execute a high level in defensive end because they're coming in at a very elite offensive pace, especially in their last 5.
Now, I know you guys have some pretty athletic bigs. How do you go about furthering the perimeter defensive skill set in that area? Because, I mean, it's hard for any 5 to try and guard the perimeter. And, of course, when you've got 2 of your 3 bigs that have never played in the Summit,
right.
I mean, it's a lot different personnel-wise.
It is, yeah. And to be honest with you, that's not the area that I'm most concerned about. We need to be able to grow in that area and keep guys in front. But our biggest area is the glass. Like, we have to start figuring out how to get 50-50 balls at a consistent rate. It's something that our entire team is frustrated about. It's not just our coaching staff. Our guys feel it. And we just need to take that next step with urgency. Like, that loss hurt more than any one that has this season. And I was thankful that it hurt every single one of our guys. Like, you walk into that locker room and you could feel it. It was the air was taken out of there because of how hard they fought, how much they gave, and how they fought for every single inch and just came up a little bit short. And so you need to use that to allow it to push you to a different level in practice because it's not easy. We're going to go on, I think today's practice 60. It's going to be the same film, talking about the same things. So doing the same vitamins, doing the same 5-on-5. So what edge do you have in that? And that loss, for me, I know it created a different edge in me that I haven't had. You have to use it as a weapon almost and use the adversity to fuel you. And prayerful that each and every one of our guys will use it in the same way.
Now, you guys win both turnover battles against the top 2 teams in turnover margin in the conference,
which is insane
over the last 2 days.
I wouldn't guess we were 0-2 if you had told me that.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So where have you seen your team grow in that area, just overall taking care of the ball? And then, I mean, over your last 7 games, you're giving up around 70 a game, which is nearly a 18-point difference from the previous 5. So where have you seen your team grow in those 2 areas the most?
We've taken major steps defensively. We have. I know we need a lot of area to grow, and the rebound 50-50 ball, the urgency to those is our biggest area. But individually, keeping guys in front, forcing wide drives, getting the gaps, playing an athletic stance, guys have really grown in that area. And then on the offensive end, a big part of our defensive efficiency is we need to take care of the ball on the offensive end, and when we score, it's a lot easier to guard. And that team's been in transition less, a lot less pick sixes because of our ball security. We still need to take care of the ball a lot better. We ended up with 14 and 2 overtimes, which is about the mark that you want. You want 12 or fewer in a normal regulation game. But I will say, like, 9 of those are in the first half. That's something that we have to be able to grow through. In the first half, we've had too many turnovers and consistently in both games, which a lot of that is like it takes a lot of effort to continue to come back from holes. And I just didn't think we brought the level of intentionality and urgency that we could have. It wasn't bad. It was bad against North Dakota, but North Dakota State, it wasn't bad, but it needs to get to a whole different level if you want to be elite and be able to compete in the league and beat the best, top 2 team in our league on the road. It takes a whole different level of intentionality. And we weren't there. And that's something that we have to grow in practice. That's the only place that you can grow it.
One place in North Dakota State that I was impressed with was your team's ability to fight adversity. I feel like they faced adversity a ton in that game, whether it was, being down 8 in the first half, you go into the locker room up 5. You go to overtime twice on the road. That's never easy. It felt like, every time NDSU came down and scored in the extra time, you guys gave it right back to them or got a big turnover and were able to get to the free throw line. So when you get into those huddles, especially too, in those overtimes and late in that second half, what did you notice about the demeanor of the guys and just how zoned in they were? Because clearly on the floor they were, and unfortunately they just came up a bucket short.
Yeah, the team was locked, and I thought we had very intentional huddles, and guys were listening at a high level and communicating at a better level. Still not the area that we not the place that we want to be. It's an area where we need growth. But I was proud of our staff, was able to be ready, and we felt like we had every single time we had an opportunity to drop an ATO, we got good stuff out of it. And so We feel like we maximized as best as we possibly could, but it's still it's frustrating that we came up short. It's an area that we got to figure out what buttons do we push, how do we create a different level of edge, and it's something that we need to grow in, and we need to grow in fast because, like I said, it doesn't get easier, and there isn't. The great part about the Summit, and the hard part of the Summit is there isn't any drop off. Every single night is a tough opponent, and so you got to be able to respond to that bell. And thankfully, we get one of the best ones coming in here on Saturday, which hopefully will be a great environment and another great college basketball game.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say the Summit League is officially wide open.
Yeah,
especially after this first week. I mean, I don't think many, including myself, saw UND getting out to a 2-0 start. I don't think many saw Kansas City going into Omaha and winning.
No.
Of course, your guys' game against NDSU, pushing them to the wire. Denver, the way that they've been playing. I mean, it's going to be a wild, wild conference season. And I think it'll be great for entertainment-wise, but I think it'll also be great for every coach in the league that, hey, you're going to have a lot of different situations get thrown at you.
No doubt.
And it'll be a really interesting couple of months here. So we'll get you out on this. When we look inner to the staff, and I'm talking everybody, I think you're going to have a little bit of beef with some people, i.e. our sports information director, Matt Schwarner,
yes.
and Reed Little,
No
one
doubt.
of our graduate assistants. You got
Ducks.
Hoosiers and Ducks on Friday.
We do.
And then you're going to have beef with me on Saturday at 11. I hope you know that. On the hardwood.
Ooh, Hoosiers play the Huskers?
At 11 a.m.
I didn't know that.
At Assembly Hall.
That it's insane that I can tell you I didn't know that. The fact that I didn't know who Indiana basketball played on Saturday, but I know who Indiana football plays on Friday, it feels insane.
It's backwards.
But that is where we are, thankfully. It's just thanks to Coach Ciganetti. He's done an incredible job. And they're an unbelievable, not only team to watch, but just the program and the process and his mindset and what the edge that he's brought to Bloomington has been phenomenal to watch and take in. And Isaac Green is even more engrossed than I am. I don't know if he's missed a single second that Sig has spoken.
He was
type of media
dialed
setting,
in on the bus on the way back.
He's dialed. He's dialed.
He was
Unfortunately, I'm not dialed at all with where we are. We got to win some freaking basketball games.
Well, I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah.
It's your job. But, I mean, mark this. It's January 5th, 2026.
Okay.
And Indiana football is undefeated.
Yes.
Nebraska basketball is undefeated.
Wow. Good point.
And Indiana football just beat Alabama 38-3.
That happened.
I mean, did you see any of the highlights afterward? I know you weren't watching.
To be honest with you, I have not seen a single play.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty engrossed in what we need to do to get better. But no, it scores, and I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for that university, and I know how hard that they've fought to get that program where it is, and I'm fighting for them. Without watching clips, I'm praying that they have an awesome game against the Ducks.
Well, I think you have a couple of good excuses. A, you're head coach, and B, you played there. So I don't think anybody can really question that. So.
Yeah.
Coach, as always, thanks so much for the time. You can catch ORU back in action at 7 o'clock on Saturday nights at the Maybe Centers. They take on the preseason #1 team in the Summit. St. Thomas should be a really, really good one. But as always, thanks so much for the time, Coach, and we will talk to you again post-game and pre-game on Saturday.
Thanks, boys.
Your favorite things ever.
But yeah, I hope it's at 60 and not like 54.
I know. Maybe it'll be at 63. Maybe we'll get you 3 minutes early.
Appreciate you.
But that's head coach Corey Barnett. This is Connor Clark signing off from Waldo's Chicken on 71st and Yale. Thanks so much for making us part of your late Monday morning, and we'll talk to you next week on the ORU Basketball Coaches Show. Thanks so much. Boom. Thanks, boys. Thank you.